We have started to record the most recent session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session. It is Wednesday, June 22nd, 2022. I am intentionally recording our final two class sessions today, Wildcard Speech Day 1, and tomorrow, Wildcard Speech Day 2, during the evenings to give all of you more time to both prepare and submit your materials. Ironically, this evening, I have had a couple of you send me data through my SAU email account. We have a number of interesting wildcard presentations going on this evening. I also want to go back and show you some snippets of yesterday's class session, primarily because with the self-evaluation speech critiques, it's really important that you understand the relevance of identifying your weaknesses and strengths as a writer and researcher. Because in a short period of time, whether you're a professional communicator or not, you must have the ability as a student and as a professional to communicate clearly and concisely, no matter what the venue is, no matter what the circumstance is, which is another reason why I think it's really important to give you a little bit of extra time. If you look over my shoulder, you can tell that I am recording during the evening. When you check the timestamp later on, you'll also be able to tell that I started this at 9:30 in the evening, and I'll probably be doing it at roughly the same time Thursday as well. I really think it's important that all of you understand that you need to check your sent email file. There is one of you, Ariana, who sent me a presentation which was recorded, but there's no audio. And that's why all of you need to double check to make certain that the video is working and the audio is working. I sent her an email this evening indicating that you need to re-record that presentation and send it to me. It won't have any negative bearing on anyone's grade, but just always double check to make certain that you have sent to me what is appropriate for the occasion, and again, that you can see and hear it. I think we've come along quite nicely during the term. I can identify with you. I told you on more than one occasion that as an undergraduate at North Dakota State University, I took my basic public speaking course during the summer. It was a bit different in the respect that it was face-to-face, and also different in that it was Monday through Friday in person, beginning at 7:30. So it was challenging to try to have a thoughtful, intense delivery that early in the morning. But for all of you, it's really fascinating to watch your improvement, as we did during the videos yesterday. How are those people going back from spring of 2020 all the way to first summer of 2021, those 6 terms that I have taught during the pandemic with a lot of video presentations? You can tell the smoothness has improved, a fewer number of vocalics or issues with grammar, and usually the quality of the outlines is getting better as well regarding the storytelling ability, whether it's bullet points that keep you conversational extemporaneous, or whether or not it's the images. But with all of that in mind, let's first of all go to yesterday's course video, examine what we were looking at, especially early on with the self-evaluation speech critiques. Come back to Blackboard, check out the syllabus, check out the videos that are going to be available for you to watch, and then go to my Yahoo email account, because I'm going to show you the self-evaluation speech critique from Scott before we get into wildcard speeches for day 1. Our video clips from 24 hours ago are going to be first. Highlights from yesterday's class session, which, as you'll recall, was wildcard speech topic selection. Here we go. We have started to record the most recent session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session. The finish line is definitely in sight. Within 48 hours, the first summer session will come to an official conclusion. It is Tuesday, June 21st, 2022. I want to spend a considerable amount of time examining the self-evaluation speech critique. I have a number of materials that are available at my Yahoo email address that I will put on the screen so you know how to format it, how to write it, and how to evaluate your own improvement during the term with that triad: content, delivery, visuals. When it comes to wildcard presentations, we have day one tomorrow, Wednesday, and day two on Thursday. I told you on a couple of occasions during yesterday's class session that Blackboard is usually cut off to students within 24 to 48 hours after our last official class session recorded on either Loom or on YouTube, or as we're doing right now, going through bits and pieces, video highlights, if you will, of what we were just looking at 24 hours ago that have been sent to my Yahoo email address or my SAU address that I moved over to my Yahoo account, primarily because the way in which you're going to write this depends upon your own particular individual approach, person, and is someone who really brought her personality out by being on camera so much in this class. Now let's examine someone else whom you've also seen on more than one occasion, very well could see today, Jordan Walker. These are all from fall intersession of 2020. Professor Reppert, I was very nervous about taking your class, but it has been very helpful. I feel that I am more confident when speaking in public than I was before. I am more cautious on making sure that I am pronouncing my words correctly and make sure that I am making eye contact. Overall, I feel that I have improved from my first speech to my last speech. Thank you so much, Jordan Walker. They look slightly different, but these are all the videos, including what we just looked at from yesterday, June 20th. A total, as of right now, 16 of the 19 videos are available right here. We're doing with the high school football games where they were adding some pre-game material. This course had been a big part of improving his self-confidence. So not only are you going to become a more self-aware public speaker, but ideally, in the long run, you're going to be someone who exhibits much more self-confidence. I was looking at this before class, or I should say I was checking this out during Kylie's presentation. So we will just go ahead and play it with the closed captioning. Why you should delete social media. It is persuasive in nature, but it's okay. This is your wild card.
Hi, my name is Francine Ansley, and I will be talking about why you should just ditch social media completely altogether. So recently, during this quarantine, I did just that. I deleted Snapchat, I deleted Instagram, Twitter, I deleted any social media. I believe that social media makes people focus more on others. To back this up, when people are using social media excessively, they tend to focus more on others' accomplishments than their own.
I was so thrilled because it was my first time running track, and I knew that since a young age I was suffering from migraines, and then now, look at me now, and I was doing wonderful. Last run, my first and last track meet. I was so thrilled that it's my senior year. I've been working hard to make sure that I meet everything that I need to do for my senior year because I want to make sure my time was faster and I was in great shape.
And just play it. The ease in which all of the individuals, and we've seen 5 so far, 3 recorded on YouTube, 2, Jordan and Madison, recorded on Loom, all of them are so likable, their personalities jump through the screen. And that ideally is going to be the essence of a public speaker. You on Loom, very calm, very poised, Nothing calls attention to itself in terms of eye contact or unnecessary hand movements or touching your face, or just realizing that whenever the camera's on, as much as possible, you need to work the camera. You need to make certain that people can understand, empathize this particular topic.
You want to make a point to connect with him. Show him that you're trying to connect with him. Set aside time for him. Make it a point to try to connect and get
for yourself. And so the example I've been using, such as brushing your teeth, the reward for that would be that tingliness you get in your mouth and that clean sensation, which will reinforce the behavior. And now after a while, the cue and the reward kind of become intertwined. And this is what creates that automatic behavior. So whenever you wake up in the morning and you go and brush your teeth, it's something that you don't really think about anymore. And that's what the habit loop does.
Yes. For your webcam on Loom, don't move it and work your graphics around it. And then look at all of the videos from the past 2 days with yesterday, research, today, topic selection. How much more confident do these people appear because they've been doing it either during a fall intersession or during a summer session or during a spring or fall semester? And it just is second nature. The more you practice, the more polished you're going to appear. We all know it's not easy, but that's part of the process of learning, which is why I don't say what you're doing are errors. They are issues to be improved upon. And that's the way I look at it. Let's finish in style. Let's make certain that you can be awarded high grades. Good luck in your respective wildcard speech preparation processes with day 1 tomorrow and day 2 on the final day of the course. As for SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking during the first summer session of 2022, that concludes the recording session for today. As you're well aware, I love the concept of video playback and feedback. That's how you improve. It's not going to be that unusual for all of you if you're taking an online class or being involved in an internship, whether here or somewhere else, or a job interview, to be interviewed on camera. How is that video playback and feedback going to help you? Your authentic nature in terms of a persona is going to come across. As someone who has been involved in media literally all of my life, as a performer, as an on-air broadcaster, as a professor of both mass communication and public speaking, it does matter. And that's why if you are your own worst critic in a positive way, that's going to help. How can you remain smooth? How can you remain authoritative and believable? All of that matters, which is why so many videos are played during this class, including everything that you do. Critique yourself and you may cringe, but that's how, at a very young age, you're going to get better. And by nature, in time, and remember what I said, I believe it was this week, there should be a nanosecond tape delay between your brain and your tongue when you're speaking. So ideally, your style of speaking may be a little bit more deliberate, but it will always be smooth. It will always be relatively coherent, conversational, spontaneous, likable, knowledgeable, thoughtful, intact, professional. All of those terms matter, which is why whenever you're looking at that checklist, the SAU speech evaluation form, it's always helpful to look at content, delivery, and visuals, what I call the triad, and try to figure out where are my strong points, what are my weak points, how can I improve when it comes to all of them. So we'll do this tomorrow as well. Let's return to the student preview mode on Blackboard. I believe repetition is very important here for you to access information. Always keep in mind that when you are at the student preview mode, the first item that you are going to see, at least for the next 24 to 48 hours before you are cut off from Blackboard access, is the announcement. It's not a requirement to attend live. Obviously, during the evening, that would be the case to give you as much opportunity to prepare as possible, and then the recorded archives. So let's remind you that the recorded archives are not only available at my website, which we'll get to shortly, and there is the recording in process, literally this evening, in progress, I should say, and all of the recordings over the past month, 8 through 17 in this window, and 1 through 7 in this window. Everything that you have done or everything you will be doing in sessions 18 tonight and session 19 tomorrow are going to be recorded for posterity. And they will also be made available at my website. These are all the grades. Wildcard speeches, self-evaluation speech critiques will be posted relatively soon, but I can't make any guarantees that everything will be updated by the time we get to the end of the term. It's my understanding that grades for the first summer session are going to be due Monday at 10 a.m. So please make certain that whether it be today or tomorrow, everything get back to me in a relatively expeditious fashion. As you're well aware, I was talking about my website. There is a link. It's also available from page 3 of the syllabus, which we'll get to shortly, and my SAU business card. And then at the course syllabus, this is our itinerary. All of this is going to be placed online this evening. And tomorrow, for the record, and we are definitely, as I told you first thing on Monday, in the home stretch. The end of the term is in sight. Let's make certain that we finish strong. Returning to the syllabus, not only do we have the itinerary, but this is the course speech schedule. And I've put in a little bit of flexibility. If you were having some issues sending your material for day 1, make certain that I get it by tomorrow evening because I will be recording. And if I get something by about 7 or 8 p.m. on Thursday, that will still give me an opportunity to play it for the record during our last class session, which is why I'm waiting until tonight to record session 18 of 19 for the term. And then above the itinerary and the course schedule, there's the evaluation form. There's the room in which you can enter the course live. But let me put the syllabus on the screen and just remind all of you of a couple of basic facts, that there are 100 points in the course, that we go 90, 80, 70. And then on page 3, a link to my website, a link to my Twitter, the SAU account or Yahoo for electronic submission of assignments. And then down here, and you've seen this on many occasions, I want this to be a mantra: 20 points for each speech, 10 for the self-evaluation speech critique, 10 for class participation. And then at the end of class, I will go both to my Twitter feed and to my website to let all of you know that additional information is going to be available for your research purposes. Before we get to our wildcard speeches for the evening, day 1, let's start talking about the self-evaluation speech critiques. You were noticing from yesterday's highlights, I played you some bits and pieces of a number of materials, including some self-evaluation speech critiques. But what about you in the first summer session of 2022? Let's go to my Yahoo email account and read the self-evaluation speech critique from one of your classmates, Scott Graves. Everything that you have sent over the past couple of weeks, over the past month, is available right here going back to the end of May. And Scott, literally just before we started recording this evening, sent me his self-evaluation. So let's go ahead and pop this up on the screen, and we will read it in real time, so all of you will have a template by which to follow. And I'll probably doing a little bit of this tomorrow as well for anyone who sends me their material. So I'll put it in the preview mode, and I will make this widescreen so you can read it. And in just a moment, I will read it. I'm going to check your screen, and now I will come back to the screen that I'm reading from. Quote, Professor Reppert, I feel that I have improved in subtle ways over the month of this course, both in my way of speaking and in my judgment when looking at my lighting and technical layout. Before this course, I was always very nervous about speaking in front of people, and it is what led to my verbal cues, as I would attempt to stall for time, saying so and now to let myself have a second to think. Scott, I do that as well. But it's better than ers, ahs, ums, and uhs. After you pointed it out, I became aware of it and attempted to improve upon it. I have a small stutter, and I think that practicing and doing extra takes to make sure my speeches were good has helped me get around it better. On the technical side, I believe that both my sense of filming in regards to the lighting and positioning of my webcam, as well as my overall ability to design a slideshow, have both increased. Thank you for the critiques and advice for improvement that you have given me over the course. Scott, you're welcome. And one of the things that I am going to do at some point, probably tomorrow, is to show you a little pamphlet that came with my $12 ring light from Walmart. And it's something that I told you before, I have it clamped on the right-hand side of my 31-inch Hewlett-Packard monitor, in addition to all of the lights that I have on in my living room. This is what Scott's email looks like when he sends it to me. This is what it looks like when it's in the preview mode and I make it full screen. He's placed it into a Word document, but as you saw from yesterday's class video and snippets that I played at the beginning of tonight's session, if you want to just send me an email and do it in this window, that's certainly appropriate. And I'll probably show you a couple of examples later on at the end of class this evening or during class tomorrow. Here we have the materials that have been sent to me. And before we get into Scott's presentation, I wanted to send a message to one of the students in this class, and it is Ariana. I am going to take the persuasive speech that you sent me and place it on the screen. I wanted to double check my files. This is actually your wild card on Shirley Chisholm, who, by the way, was the first African-American female to run for president in 1972. Let me put this on the screen. Here's your presentation, but unfortunately, here's the problem. I'm going to go ahead and play this, Ariana, so you can hear that there is no audio. I'm intentionally not speaking because there is no audio for the presentation. And please make sure that you check your email files, because I sent you a response this evening indicating that there was no audio. And as long as I get it, you re-record this or double check to make sure that the audio works, which is why I was talking about the sent file earlier, you'll be okay. One of the issues that sometimes people have, whether they're recording on Loom or whether it's on YouTube, is checking one more time the audio and the video in your sent file, whether it's on your YouTube channel or looking on Loom. Just make sure that everything is exactly the way that you want it, because with the final day of class being in 24 hours, there's not going to be a lot of wiggle room here, so you have to make double certain. Like with Scott, the self-evaluation speech critique or his presentation or anyone else's, that you're all ready to go and everything is perfect. Our wildcard speeches for the evening include Scott, how to start playing Dungeons and Dragons, Braceland, the meaning behind Juneteenth, Mariah, why you should always have a planner, and Cornisha, who is audio only, on Michelle Obama. That is in addition to a leftover persuasive speech from Zamori on raising the minimum wage. But Ariana, again, the Shirley Chisholm speech looks good in its overall content, but you have to re-record it because the audio has not been recorded. Our first presenter of the evening with wildcard speech, day one, is Scott Graves. I wanted to take a little bit of extra time today before we started playing the videos to double check everything, to show you from Blackboard videos, from Blackboard, all of the data that I have, also from my SAU account, my SAU email account, which I'll show you later, and my Yahoo account, which we were examining for Scott's self-evaluation speech critique and other materials that have been sent. Our first wildcard speech is going to be Scott Graves, how to start playing Dungeons and Dragons. Here we go.
Hello, my name is Scott Graves, and today I'm going to tell you how you can start playing Dungeons and Dragons. Now, some people might think that Dungeons and Dragons is just a weird little game played by a bunch of losers in a dark basement somewhere. And while that may have been the case back in the 70s when the game was first released, it is no longer the case. As a matter of fact, last year alone, over 10 million people got together and watched different people stream D&D on different sites such as Twitch and YouTube. To understand what Dungeons and Dragons is, it is generally a dice-based tabletop role-playing game. This means that all of your stats, so to call them, are usually listed on a piece of paper, and all the decisions you end up making, the determining factor of them will be the roll of a dice, a d20 or a 20-sided die. Now, D&D itself was published in 1974 by Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, and it was notable because it deviated from its previous war game style tabletop role-playing games that were around before it. So to get started on playing D&D, the best way to do it is to obtain a set of the rules. Now, back in 2014, when the current edition of Dungeons & Dragons first came out, the best way to do this would be to get a player's handbook. Nowadays, there's been so many extra things released for the current edition that you need to get a starter or essentials kit to play more efficiently in the game as it is now. What would also be very helpful is to get a set of dice, which includes a 4-sided dice, a 6-sided dice, an 8-sided dice, 2 10-sided dice, a 12-sided dice, and the most important, your 20-sided die. Now, if you can't get your hands on a nice set of dice or even a cheap set of dice, you can always use something like a digital dice roller. So, to start out getting ready to play, you'll have to first make your character. Now, your character will go into everything you see here on this sheet, which at first might seem incredibly complicated, but it can all be broken down into 3 main choices you have to make. First, you'll have to choose your race. D&D has so many races to choose from, I couldn't feasibly list them all out. I would get a lot of them mixed up and I would lose a few of them off the top of my head. But to put it simply, you have your common races, your humans, your elves, your dwarves, all the typical fantasy races that you'd see all over the place, your exotic races, which are rare and different, like demon people and bird people, and you take an animal and mix it with a person, and that's probably a race in D&D. Your monster races, which are things like goblins and orcs and lizards and the like, and your more setting specific things like the Eberron and Runeloft campaigns. But that's more complicated. All you'd really need to do is find which race really suits you and pick that race for your character. Now, second, you'd need a class. There are 14 different classes available to choose from in D&D, 2 of which are not pictured here, the Blood Hunter and the Artificer. All the classes have something they specialize in. It can range anywhere from magic casting, weapon mastery, from speed to strength, and everything in between. No 2 characters will be exactly alike unless you purposely make them exactly alike. Anywhere from your strongest barbarian to your most clever and tricksy wizards and rogues. Finally, once you got your class and race decided, you'll need to choose your background and backstory. To get a background, I've found better to write a backstory first. Your backstory can help you define your background for your character. Now, a good backstory can actually come from anything. It's all made up in your head. All of it. Just your imagination. Write yourself a story, find a character in that story, boom, there you go. It can be anything from a epic Lord of the Rings style quest from a book or a slightly silly Monty Python skit. Now, once you've got your character made and your backstory written out, to be able to start playing, you'll have to find a game to play in. Unfortunately, the game itself does not come pre-installed with friends. You'll need to find some for yourself. You can ask some friends you already have, see around if there's any local games in your area. You could even find games that are going online. I know that places like Facebook and Reddit and Instagram have groups that often chat and talk about playing D&D and setting up times. Overall, once you've got all of this taken care of, you will be right ready and set to play the game known as Dungeons and Dragons. I would like to thank you for listening to my speech, and may the dice ever roll in your favor.
Nice conclusion, Scott. I want all of you to just reflect on what I have been talking about that is available not only at my website, but also available on Blackboard. We have, since the beginning of the semester, done a deep dive into effective content, delivery, and visuals. In fact, when you go back and check all of the videos at the end of the term, session 3 of those 19 was effective content, delivery, and visuals. When you're looking at Scott or any of your classmates, those 21 areas, 7 each in content, delivery, and visuals, can you make an honest evaluation of yourself that you've improved in as many of those content, delivery, and visuals categories as possible. And I think most of you have. It will always be a work in progress. With that in mind, let's mute his audio as we do with so many individuals. Let's go back to the beginning. Play about 1 minute of his presentation with the audio down, with the closed captioning up. Pay attention not only to the design consistency of his slides, but his eye contact, his ability from the closed captioning to speak in complete sentence structure, the location of his timer in relation to where his webcam is, and then start thinking about his comments from the self-evaluation speech critique, and that he has taken my positive comments in terms of constructive criticism to heart. What is Dungeons and Dragons? Explaining it very clearly and concisely. Look at his eyes. Look at him when he is speaking. Does he have any real breaks in thought? Does he come across as being confident, smooth, authoritative, believable, thoughtful when it comes to his topic? And a long time ago, Dungeons and Dragons was extremely controversial. How is he talking about its notability here? Let's go for at least 90 seconds and then pause it. So there were exactly 90 seconds. Taking a quick look now, not only at his complete sentence structure, but also look at his slides. And we're going to be doing this with all of you, whether it be making your character or race. Looking in two different places, the quality of the slide and what's at the bottom with a complete sentence structure. We go from class, background and backstory, and we are almost to the last minute of his presentation. Let's bring the audio up, leave the closed captioning on, and play the remainder of the wild card.
Python skit. Now, once you've got your character made and your backstory written out, to be able to start playing, you'll have to find a game to play in. Unfortunately, the game itself does not come pre-installed with friends. You'll need to find some for yourself. You can ask some friends you already have, see around if there's any local games in your area. You could even find games that are going online. I know that places like Facebook and Reddit and Instagram have groups that often chat and talk about playing D&D and setting up times. Overall, once you've got all of this taken care of, you will be right ready and set to play the game known as Dungeons and Dragons. I would like to thank you for listening to my speech, and may the dice ever roll in your favor.
And that is the end of his presentation. So we'll leave it on that while I return to the speech evaluation form that is listed on my website and on Blackboard as a checklist. We'll leave Scott on the screen. Now think about his content. Was his organization logical? Introduction relevant? Main supporting points apparent? Topic research detailed? Fairness inclusive? Topic analysis thoughtful? Conclusion concise? In terms of delivery, was Scott's extemporaneous quality continuous? Conversational style expressive? Eye contact full? Articulation, enunciation clear? Vocal variety varied? Nonverbal cues poised? Persona authentic? When it came to Scott's visuals, was his design consistency uniform? Font size, color shading readable? Spelling, grammar, syntax accurate? Text-image balance comparable? interactivity recurrent, storytelling ability dynamic, and aesthetic appeal creative. And I believe you can make a very good case as we go from back to front, one final time for Scott during the first summer session, eventually winding up at his title slide and taking off the closed captioning, that he's done a good job of improving in most or all of those categories. Now, I'm not going to break it down into those 21 for everyone, but Scott is our first contestant for the wild card speech, either day one or day two. But I think he did a very good job in terms of improving in all of those categories during a relatively short time of 5 weeks. Which now brings us to our second presenter of Wildcard Speech Day 1. This is Bracelyn. She has a very timely topic. As you're well aware, that Sunday was Juneteenth. And the first Juneteenth speech I had, I believe, actually took place as an informative speech many years ago when you were very young during a summer session of speech at SAU. Most of the time, I always teach the first summer session in this course. On that occasion, it was face to face. Here, obviously, it is going to be virtual. Bracelyn discusses Juneteenth, now a federal holiday.
Hi, my name is Bryson Glover, and I will be doing my wildcard speech over the meaning behind Juneteenth. As you many know, that Juneteenth just passed this Sunday, and I know a lot of people were kind of clueless because, in my opinion, the holiday has just become like more famous. Like it's getting famous and famous every year. So some people haven't heard of it and some people have. But I know on this day a lot of people were wondering like, well, what is Juneteenth? And even myself was not fully educated on the meaning behind Juneteenth. So yeah. So first and foremost, what is Juneteenth? Juneteenth is a federal holiday celebrated on June 19th to commemorate the emancipation of enslaved Africans in the United States. So basically, on this day, slaves were freed. So why June 19th? Juneteenth marks the anniversary of the announcement of General Order Granger on June 19th, 1865, proclaiming freedom of enslaved people in Texas. So, of course, it's in Texas because there are many enslaved people, and this is where they freed. This is the state that in which they freed them in. So, no matter how many years 1865 was, no matter how many years ago 1865 was, it's the day, June 19th, that they were free. That Granger signed the paper or whatever, freeing slaves. This is when he gave the order. So many years later, June 19th is still remembered by this celebration. So where did Juneteenth originate from? Since they were freed in Texas and Gordon Granger signed an order, it originated in Galveston, Texas. Gordon Granger set up his headquarters in Galveston, Texas, and famously signed an order, all slaves are free, June 19, 1865. But it wasn't until last year that President Biden made Juneteenth a federal holiday, not a state holiday. Like this holiday is no longer just celebrated in one state, but he made it a federal holiday. So that's why I feel as if this holiday is getting bigger and bigger. It is a federal holiday, which is big. Like that's why I'm repeating, because federal holiday is big. It's like, like Christmas or any other holidays, like this is a real holiday that should be celebrated. Many people think that this is not an important holiday, but it is. It's literally a federal holiday. So a fun fact is General Gordon Granger, he was a white man. Well, of course, like a lot of white people were in charge back then, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't know that a white man would free slaves. But this is a picture of Gordon Granger on the right, and some of his some of the things that he signed on were the people of Texas are affirmed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. And it goes on, but this is part of what he signed on, and it is an excerpt from General Orders Number 3, Headquarters District of Texas, Galveston, June 19, 1865. And a lot of people want to know, like, Juneteenth, like, where did that come from? Well, Juneteenth, basically, like the name itself, is basically just a word, it's just a combined word of June and 19th, Juneteenth. So what does the color represent? I know whenever you see Juneteenth like shirts or celebrations or anything, you see these colors and you wonder, what do they mean? So the red is the struggle and sacrifice. Well, it stands for struggle and sacrifice. The black stands for black people. The green stands for natural wealth of the land of Africa. I didn't see it didn't tell me what yellow meant. In my opinion, yellow meant from reading and looking at different um, articles, yellow means freedom. That's what I would say it meant. It gave me like long summaries and stuff, but in my opinion, yellow would mean freedom. But yes, these colors are used a lot in reference of Juneteenth, and this was the what they stand for. So how is it celebrated? It's celebrated in different ways, like different places. Some people, I feel as if some places take it more serious than others, and some places just, like celebrate it, having like minor things. So it is primarily celebrated by Southern Black folks, people, and they celebrate it by having gatherings, Black anthems, festivals, shooting fireworks, parades, cookouts, comfort food, and dancing. As you can see in the picture, you see the colors a lot. You do see yellow, because I was wondering, like, why did they tell me what yellow meant? But you do see yellow a lot. And yeah, in these pictures, you can definitely see the colors. And that goes a lot into the Juneteenth celebration. Festivals. Festivals are big everywhere. I feel as if a lot of places have festivals um, in reference of Juneteenth. Here in Magnolia, the past weekend, we had a June festival parade. We also had a Juneteenth festival at the park. So on the next slide, oh, I want to go back. On this slide, I show some pictures from here in Magnolia. They had a parade, and they had this picture up here in the top right. You can see the people walking through the parade. They had many cars and people out of cars. You can see the shirts in the different pictures that they got shirts made. So that's another thing that they do. They also had a dance off at the park. And they also had a rib cook-off. As you can see in the pictures, there are people like cooking ribs out there, and there are also different booths set up selling things. And like I said in the previous slide, you saw comfort food. So in my opinion, comfort food would be like basic Black people food, like barbecuing, basically, like barbecuing different foods. And there goes like ribs, baked beans, potato salad, like typical Black people cookout food. So yeah, if you didn't know anything about Juneteenth or where it came from, I hope that this educated you a little and that you can respect it a little, just because, like, of all the things that were put into um, Juneteenth and freeing the slaves. So yeah, thank you.
And what you saw from Braceland was a thoughtful presentation on Juneteenth, looking at the history, looking at some of the celebrations, and the fact that the President of the United States, Joe Biden, signed that into law as a federal holiday. Let's do the same thing with everyone over the next couple of days. Mute the audio, bring the video slowly back to the beginning, as we did with Scott and his presentation on Dungeons and Dragons. Let's go the first 60 to 90 seconds, as we did with Scott, with the audio down, closed captioning on, and check out her eye contact, her design consistency, and her overall improvement as a public speaker, but especially with the audio down, it creates a totally different effect. You'll recall Bracelyn has a nervous habit of touching her face, and she did that again. She didn't do it as much here. And oftentimes when we are trying to think of something to say, it's not unusual to look off to the side. I like the title slide, the color variation behind it. Those of you who are relatively new to the PowerPoint platform know that the template that she is using is something that is easily available when you're using Microsoft PowerPoint. This was really important because not everyone knows what Juneteenth is, or the fact that those who were enslaved in Texas did not find out until long after the fact from Union cavalry that the war was over, and that they did, in fact, proclaim freedom for enslaved people in Texas. I'm going to look at the bottom of the screen because there it is at 1:10, and there's a slight variation between her actual recording time and what you see on the timer. But I do like the fact that she and Scott have really improved when it comes to their storytelling ability with their slides. Let's get to 90 seconds, exactly the same as Scott. You can also see that she has tightened up her facial profile, as Scott did in the webcam, and that she is staying exclusively on the right-hand side of the screen, upper right. Scott was lower left. Let's bring the audio back up, leave the closed captioning on, go through her slides. Where did Juneteenth originate? Nice historical perspective. Continue on. What does the color represent with the flag that you can see at the bottom of the screen? Yellow representing freedom, and how it is celebrated both last year and this year. Some of the retrospectives going on, including the Black anthems and festivals, as she has in a variety of bullet points. Pictures from the Magnolia celebration. Remember, Magnolia should be in uppercase, being a proper term. And we get to the last minute or so of her speech. Let's go ahead and play it in real time, as always, with closed captioning up.
As you can see in the pictures, there are people like cooking ribs out there, and there are also different booth setups selling things. And like I said in the previous slide, you saw comfort food. So in my opinion, comfort food would be like basic Black people food, like barbecuing, basically, like barbecuing different foods. And there goes like ribs, baked beans, potato salad, like typical Black people cookout food. So yeah, if you didn't know anything about Juneteenth or where it came from, I hope that this educated you a little and that you can respect it a little, just because, like, of all the things that were put into Juneteenth and freeing the slaves. So yeah, thank you.
Now, I think what I would do, Bracelyn, is just go ahead and leave that final slide up until you're done. Just leave it like that. And we can see that with both of our speakers, their natural personalities come through. You saw it with Scott. You see it with Bracelyn. Back to front. One final time. Checking out the research, checking out the eye contact, checking out the ability to remain conversational, thoughtful, knowledgeable, likable, all of those terms that you have heard me say over and over again. And there is the beginning of her presentation, the meaning behind Juneteenth. Is everything going to be perfect over the next couple of class periods, even with the wild card and all the improvement that you've made with content, delivery, and visuals, or as you know, I call it the triad? No, but there will be significant improvement. There will still obviously be some changes that need to be made in all of those 21 categories on the informal checklist, but you're off to a very good start. And that's what I want to see. If you're ever on the borderline of a grade, it's going to be with the delivery improvement that I see in this course. Our third presenter of the evening is going to be Mariah. Her topic is, quote, why you should always have a planner. And here it is. Closed captioning is off. Her presentation is just over 7 minutes. Hers is our third wildcard speech, which will be seen on day 1. We will get it ready, and here we go.
I did my wildcard speech on why you should always have a planner. Already you can see that there is more than just one type of planner. You have your weekly planner, your daily planner, your business planner, and just a simple planner and a weekly work planner. A weekly planner is you plan out your whole week weekly. A daily planner is you write down your tasks for the day. A business plan is it's more formal, so you write down your goals and how you want to achieve your goals in that business. A weekly work planner is a task management tool that helps you break down and organize the tasks that you need to complete for the upcoming week. A simple planner is your own planner. You create it how you want to on how you want to do things. Okay, so I know you're probably thinking, why is having a planner important? Well, it helps with time management and it helps you to stay organized. Okay, so why would you need one? Well, it helps you keep schedule of everything you need to do. Okay, now let's say you have a planner but don't have plans, then what? Well, I'm going to be showing a short video and I'm not going to show the whole thing. I'm just going to be skipping through, just getting at the basic key points. So it's just going to talk about how to use a planner when you don't have plans.
Powerful tool for self-care, art,
So I'm just going to skip through that part to okay, so now it's going to start talking about how to repurpose daily, weekly, and monthly planners. And it's going to go in order just like that. So
planners are wide open for reinterpretation. Our favorite daily planner is the Hobonichi Techo, but any will work for these new uses. Page a day planners provide plenty of blank space to fill with drawing and writing challenges. Find a prompt list for drawing or flash fiction. Write out prompts ahead of time to motivate yourself, or take it day by day.
okay, and here's just going to be talking about how to use your daily planner as your journal. So not only your planner just something that you just use for to organize stuff, it's also your journal. You can write down your thoughts, your feelings, or anything like that. And so now I'm just going to skip through to go on to the
behind your emotional state and improve your
Go on
self-awareness.
to the weekly.
There's plenty of ways to organize your thoughts or add structure to shapeless days. Vertical weekly planners, where each day has its own column divided into hours, are well suited to timed activities like exercise. The Kokuyo Jibun Techo Biz Diary provides all.
So it's just showing how you would do your fitness tracking and how you would like put it down.
For where you want to be. Start out with achievable, realistic goals that will build motivation. A half horizontal planner, like the Hobonichi Techo Week.
Okay, I'm gonna skip to the
Here are some
weekly.
tips for what to do with them. Monthly planner layouts can be repurposed into a mini drawing challenge. Use a prompt list, document the view out of your window, or just create whatever patterns or creatures come to mind. Seeing an entire month at once can give you a bird's eye view of your behavior. Our guide to habit tracking can help you start collecting information, but all you really need is a trait you're aware of and the intention to write it down. Consider documenting your sleep
Okay, I'm
patterns.
gonna skip through right here.
It's perfect for swatching your collection of art supplies or bottled inks. Use this opportunity to make sure you don't have too many of the same color, or make a catalog of your supplies.
So let's say, well, if you're into art, this is a good way that to use a planner, as you can see.
Any kind of planner can be repurposed. Try these ideas and let us know what works best for you.
Okay. So that's the end of that video. Okay, so everyone forgets. I know that when I'm at home, I can think of everything I need to get at the grocery store and not write it down. But then when I get in the store, I forget half the stuff I need. So that's why now I try to like plan out everything I need and write it down when I think about it. Okay, and I also know some people forget their passwords, social media, or email. So if you have a planner, you can easily like just write it down and so you can have it so you can won't forget. Okay, so what if you still don't need a planner, that you feel like you still don't need one? Well, you also have your financial planning and you have 5 stages of it. So first, examine your current situation. Get to know you and your unique situation. Then identify your goals and objectives. Determine where you would like to succeed in your short-term and long-term goals. Then develop a plan to address your goals. Okay, plan out each step to achieve these goals. Then implement plan or recommendations. Work on your behalf to gain the most out of your individual plan. And then last, review implementation. Meet once a year to discuss where you are and your goals and adjust as needed. So here I have 3 quotes. Failing to plan is planning to fail. An hour of planning can save you 10 hours of doing. And the last one is a goal without a plan is just a wish. And that's the end of my presentation.
Mariah looks very happy and relieved that the semester is over. I would use the term first summer session, summer one, semester, all of those terms interchangeably. No matter what I call it, she's glad the course has come to a conclusion. Is there obvious improvement in her case with delivery? Yes. Are there areas in which she still has to improve? Yes. I heard okay, well, gonna, and a couple of drop G's. As I indicated at the end of Tuesday's course session 17, I don't use the term errors. I say issues because they are eminently correctable. The more Scott, the more Bracelin, or the more that Mariah will watch themselves on video, it's going to be second nature to get rid of all of those and other issues that may come up in delivery. But does she come across with a very likable conversational style? Absolutely. But those are issues that will have to be corrected in time. And Mariah, the other thing is obviously this: please make certain that you're watching the videos all the way to the conclusion, because we should be in a position by now where you go into slideshow from beginning and we see the entire slide. I've talked about that on a couple of occasions, so we don't see all of this on the left-hand side. I don't know what the situation is on your computer, but we should just go slideshow from beginning and get rid of everything else. We'll talk about that probably when we have gotten to the end of your presentation. And that saves some of the issues that come up when you're trying to access a video clip as well, which is a nice inclusion. Let's mute the audio, put it on closed captioning, and as was the case with our first two presenters, let's play the first 90 seconds with the audio down. I really like the title slide, but we need your name on it. Obvious preparation. The lighting is such where it flatters her, but she also needs to make certain that she stops moving the webcam around. We've talked about that before. Why is having a planner important? Again, you can tell the complete sentence structure and the bullet points are assisting her with the extemporaneous structure. The stylistic approach matters, including design consistency of the slides. And you can see she put a lot of time and effort. This is one advantage of seeing the rundown on the far left. You can see how much work she put into the research, but you're making it much harder than it should be. You shouldn't have to click on those. Slideshow from beginning, right arrow, and you go on to the next one. Same thing here. Let me pause this for the time being before we get to the 90-second mark. When you have any type of a YouTube link, now keep in mind, guys, I've talked about this before. If you insert a YouTube link into a slide, always remember that once you have dropped and dragged the URL, get to the last digit or get to the last character of the address and click enter. Once you do that, it becomes interactive and the entire link will be underlined. So when you're in the slideshow mode, all you have to do is to click on this and the video opens. Now it opens in a different window, but that's something that you can take advantage of in terms of time. So she's making this a little bit harder on herself than it has to be. Now she clicked on the link and clicked on play, and eventually it comes up on the screen. I like the inclusion of this, but it can be a little smoother in terms of the way that you've got it set up. Now let's go to the last minute of her presentation and bring the audio back up, leave the closed captioning on, and check out her closing comments.
You have 5 stages of it. So first, examine your current situation. Get to know your unique situation. Then identify your goals and objectives. Determine where you would like to succeed in your short-term and long-term goals. Then develop a plan to address your goals. Okay, plan out each step to achieve these goals. Then implement plan or recommendations. Work on your behalf to gain the most out of your individual plan. And then last, review implementation. Meet once a year to discuss where you are and your goals and adjust as needed. So here I have 3 quotes. Failing to plan is planning to fail. An hour of planning can save you 10 hours of doing. And the last one is a goal without a plan is just a wish. And that's the end of my presentation.
And again, I stopped it in exactly the same place, and you can tell she's happy to come to a conclusion. I should indicate I really enjoy the creative nature that all of you are bringing to your slide composition. Stages of financial planning. How much time did it take to put that up on the screen? Now, that could be a compilation of graphics. It could be something that is a screenshot, but no matter what, the storytelling structure matters. Same thing from moving back from the stages of financial planning, which in this case are 5 up on top, and then all of these items, including groceries, people forget their passwords, and that really is true. But especially today, and I try to do it as a professor, planning matters. If I look at my screen right now, I have a ton of tabs on the screen, and I want to plan these video course sessions in such a way where everything is relatively smooth. In the same way that you see here, even though I would prefer that this be in the slideshow mode, because just in the way that it is going to be smoother, it will be incredibly helpful. Let's say you have a planner but don't have plans. Set up creatively with a See It Bigger planner. And I actually, Mariah, I actually have something similar to this, but it is formatted a little bit differently. It doesn't have that ring binder feel to it, but that is very good for your overall source credibility that you practice what you preach. And then why is having a planner important? The time management element comes in really handy, especially for those of you who have jobs, or those of you who are parents, or who are taking care of other family members. You have to budget your time accordingly. And there is her title slide, and we'll go back to the beginning, make sure there's some eye contact. There we go. With everyone that we've seen, there is obvious improvement with content, with delivery, with visuals, but obviously there's going to be some work, as we said with Mariah, especially with vocalics and some drop Gs that are going to be worked on in time. And most importantly, slideshow from beginning where it's full slide and not seeing those on the side. But I do appreciate the fact that you've got the timer in a location that's going to maximize your efficiency in relation to the location of your webcam, which is on the upper half of the screen. So that brings us to our 4th wildcard presenter of day 1. This is Cornisha, who is talking about the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. This is her presentation. It is audio only. One of the advantages to recording on Blackboard Collaborate Ultra is it will bring up automatically the audio on certain occasions where it's a little bit low. Cornisha, I'm not sure where you are in relation to your microphone, or whether or not you had turned up the recording level as high as you could have, because your audio is a little bit lower, but hopefully it will still be understandable. But I'm not going to take any chances, and I'll go ahead and play this and make an effort to, at least on my case, possibly bring up the audio a bit as well. Our 4th presentation is going to be of Michelle Obama for the wild card. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Cornisha Griffin, and I will be doing my wild card speech on Michelle Obama. Who is Michelle Obama? Michelle Obama is a lawyer and writer who was the First Lady of the United States from 2009 to 2017. She is the wife of the 44th U.S. President, Barack Obama. As First Lady, Michelle focused her attention on social issues such as poverty, healthy living, and education. Her 2018 memoir, Becoming discusses the experiences that shaped her, from her childhood in Chicago to her years living in the White House. Early life. Michelle was born Michelle LaVon Robinson on January 17, 1964. In Chicago, Illinois, Michelle's father, Frazier Robinson, was a city pump operator and a Democratic precinct captain. Her mother, Marion, was a secretary at Spiegel's but later stayed home to raise Michelle and her older brother, Craig. At just 21 months apart in age, Craig and Michelle were often mistaken for twins. The Robinson family lived in a small bungalow on Chicago's south side. Michelle and Craig shared quarters, sleeping in the living room with a sheet serving as a makeshift room divider. They were a close-knit family, typically sharing meals, reading, and playing games together. Education. Raised with an emphasis on education, both Michelle and her brother learned to read at home by age 4 and skipped the second grade. By the sixth grade, Michelle was taking classes in her school's gifted program, where she learned French and completed accelerated courses in biology. Michelle went on to attend Whitney M. Young Magnet High School, the city's first magnet high school for gifted children, where, among other activities, she served as student government treasurer. In 1981, she graduated from the school as a class salutatorian. Education College. Michelle attended Princeton University, graduating in 1985 with a BA in sociology. She went on to study law at Harvard Law School, where she took part in demonstrations calling for the enrollment and hiring of more minority students and professors. She was awarded her JD in 1988. Her career. After graduating law school in 1988, Michelle worked as an associate in the Chicago branch of the firm Sidley Austin in the area of marketing and intellectual property. In 1991, she left corporate law to pursue a career in public services, working as an assistant to Mayor Richard Daley, and then as the Assistant Commissioner of Planning and Development for the City of Chicago. Her career continued. In 1993, Michelle became Executive Director for the Chicago Office of Public Allies, a nonprofit leadership training program that helped young adults develop skills for future careers in the public sector. In 1996, Michelle joined the University of Chicago as Associate Dean of Student Services, developing the school's first community service program. Beginning in 2002, she worked for the University of Chicago Hospitals as Executive Director of Community Relations and External Affairs. Thank you.
So obviously the issue, Cornelia, is just trying to be in a position where we see your face on the screen, because this happened with one of your other presentations, which is why I'm leaving it there for the time being. Let me go to the last 30 seconds or so and just play this and watch what happens, and then I'll give you an overall critique eventually.
Michelle joined the University of Chicago as Associate Dean of Student Services, developing the school's first community service program. Beginning in 2002, she worked for the University of Chicago Hospitals as Executive Director of Community Relations and External Affairs. Thank you.
And it really came to an abrupt conclusion. There really was no conclusion to your presentation. Now there you are. I'm not sure what the issue is with your computer, because with one of your other speeches, the same thing happened, where we know that you're there, but for some reason you're not showing up on the screen. And at the bottom, make certain that you take that notification off of the screen. The way that you have this set up, I am not able to place this in closed captioning. So let's just go to the beginning and listen for any type of extemporaneous style of presentation instead of reading the slides. Let's check out the first 60 seconds.
Hi, my name is Cornisha Griffin, and I will be doing my wild card speech on Michelle Obama. Who is Michelle Obama? Michelle Obama is a lawyer and writer who was the First Lady of the United States from 2009 to 2017. She is the wife of the 44th U.S. President, Barack Obama. As First Lady, Michelle focused her attention on social issues such as poverty, healthy living, and education. Her 2018 memoir, Becoming, discusses the experiences that shaped her, from her childhood in Chicago to her years living in the White House.
Now, basically what you did was read that slide. Keep in mind that the most important element of public speaking is to be extemporaneous. I don't want people in this class to read off of slides. It's too easy. That's not the point. Let's check out the last minute of your presentation or so and see whether or not that continues. We looked at that before. Let's go a little bit earlier. Let's go for another 30 seconds or so and check out whether or not you're working on your improvement as an extemporaneous speaker.
In 1981, she graduated from the school as a class salutatorian. Education College. Michelle attended Princeton University, graduating in 1985 with a BA in sociology. She went on to study law at Harvard Law School, where she took part in demonstrations calling for the enrollment and hiring of more minority students and professors. She was awarded her JD in 1988.
Now keep in mind, guys, what I want all of you to do is to improve as extemporaneous speakers. There is a place, especially with politicians, ironically, for a manuscript delivery going word for word, but that's not what I'm asking you to do in this class. So please make certain that that is the reason why you don't want to write in a complete sentence structure and work more with bullet points and text to maximize your ability to be extemporaneous. When we're looking at her slides, whether it's the career or any of the other elements that are here with education
Great.
or
Michelle was
some of
taking
the other items, let's go ahead and mute the audio as we go back. This is all relevant in terms of storytelling, and I like the title slide, but there are some issues to be addressed. In particular, whenever it comes to a public speaking course, the ability to be extemporaneous and not just read stuff is really important, because that's going to have a bearing on someone's grade. This is not a course where you read slides. It is a course where you take information off slides and relate information in a way that is going to be illustrative of the course in terms of the overall delivery improvement. So there's excellent research when it comes to the topic. As far as the delivery is concerned, there's a lot of work that still has to be done. Primarily, the ability to be extemporaneous and not read directly off slides. Which brings us to our final presentation of the evening. This is persuasive in nature. This is from Zamori. Her topic is about the minimum wage. We have one more wildcard speech. That was Ariana. I showed you that at the beginning of class. Has to be resent because the audio does not work. Our final presentation is going to be on raising the minimum wage. This is Zamori's persuasive presentation. And here we go.
Hello, my name is Zamari Vickers, and I'll be doing my persuasion speech on raising the minimum wage. Raising the minimum wage. Raising the minimum wage is one policy tool that can be used to help increase the wealth of families and individuals in financial need. The CBO estimates that if the raise of the minimum wage Act were implemented, 900,000 Americans would be lifted out of poverty by 2025. Arkansas's minimum wage. Arkansas's minimum wage from 2021 to 2022 rate lies at $11 per hour. This is greater than the federal minimum wage of $7.25. Arkansas's minimum wage from 2011 to 2024 stayed at a wage of $7.25. In 2015, it increased to $7.50. Just a year later, it increased to $8 an hour. The 2 years following it increased to $8.50. Then a year later, it increased to $9.25. In 2022, it went up to $10 an hour, which is a decent amount, but it's still very little, especially with everything, all the prices and things going up now. In 2021 and 2022, wages went up to $11 an hour. The federal minimum wage information throughout the years. In 1997, it was $5.15. 2007, it was $5.85. In 2008, it was $6.55. In 2009, it was $7.25. Here are some of the top 5 states with the largest minimum wage. Colombia, which is at the highest of $16.10. California following behind it with $15. Washington, $14.49. Massachusetts, $14.25. Oregon, $13.50. And here are some of the 5 states with the lowest minimum wage. Ohio is at $9.30. Montana is at $9.20. Nebraska is at $9. West Virginia is at $8.75. Wisconsin is at $7.25. Why we should raise the minimum wage. Raising the minimum wage will help benefit a lot of people in the world who don't have a lot of money and are working 2 or more jobs just to make ends meet. The main reason is ever since the COVID-19 and pandemic happened, everything has been very overpriced and gas prices have skyrocketed ever since. Thank you for listening.
There you can continue to see the confidence that all of you have, the more that you are participating in the process of recording and self-evaluating your presentations. Is everything going to be perfect? As you're well aware, my response will always be no, but those are the issues on which we improve. And I would prefer that it be a little bit closer to 5 minutes, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt here. You'll also remember that from an earlier presentation when we were talking about the minimum wage, one of the items that I actually showed you in a recorded class session was from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, examining the minimum wage in June of 1975, which was $2.10. In terms of buying power, as of May 2022, the last month that the federal government had statistics, that $2.10 in terms of buying power today would be roughly a little over $11 an hour. So some of the statistics that Zamari presented were quite helpful for her persuasive cause. In some states, the minimum wage lags far behind the buying power of the $2.10 from 1975. And especially with prices rising, with inflation, gasoline, all of those issues, all of those price hikes will go up every year. And if you're living off the minimum wage, especially if you're a high school or college student with a part-time job, those are certainly going to be coming into consideration in terms of short and long-term finances. Let's check out closed captioning on, audio down. Remember, from the last presenter with Michelle Obama, I did not have the ability to put it in closed captioning from the methodology by which it was sent. Let's check out the first minute of Zamari's persuasive speech. It eventually goes into the slideshow mode, automatically into the right-hand side. Now, here's what I like. She has a poised persona, likable, authentic, confident, and the timer is right next to her. That is so helpful and so aesthetically pleasing. She takes her data and goes left flush for her paragraphing or bullet point structure with the text, and also left flush for her data up at the top for her headlines. Some of the most relevant data that she has here: $11 an hour in Arkansas. The federal minimum wage is $7.25. And of course, I've had presentations in the past that not only looked at minimum wages in Arkansas and around the country, but when you're tipping, what is the minimum wage there? Because then you have what is known as the sub-minimum wage. And those are very low, where you theoretically at least make up for it in tips. And as we've seen with others, let's go to the first 90 seconds, pause it, and then move ahead to the last minute of her presentation, bring up the audio, and check her complete sentence structure till the conclusion.
With the lowest minimum rate. Ohio is at $9.30. Montana is at $9.20. Nebraska is at $9. West Virginia is at $8.75. Wisconsin is at $7.25. Why we should raise the minimum wage. Raising the minimum wage will help benefit a lot of people in the world who don't have a lot of money and are working 2 or more jobs just to make ends meet. The main reason is ever since the COVID-19 and the pandemic happened, everything has been very overpriced, and gas prices have skyrocketed ever since. Thank you for listening.
And that is the end of her presentation. Smiling, looking very confident into the camera, which is always very positive to see. Let's go ahead and mute the audio, check out her slides, going from back to front, where she's got her final slide. And if you want to do a generic thank you for listening or thank you for watching, that's okay. She's tightened up the shot with the webcam. Lighting looks nice. She looks very professional, as most of you do. The more that you practice why we should raise the minimum wage, you can tell with the eye contact that she's working very well. However, Zamari, I need to tease you here because you made up a word. Every sense is not a word. You mean ever since. So that's actually two words, which is why all of you need to keep in mind whenever you have completed your slides, no matter what the format is, whether it's Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoint, always double check the spelling and the grammar. Always go through your slides and double check that to make sure that something like this does not come up. It's happened before, but if you run something like that through spell check, it should get flagged. Then we move back to the top 5 states with the lowest minimum wage. District of Columbia, 1610. California, 15. There have been some politicians who believe there should be a $15 minimum. There are some politicians who believe it should be indexed to inflation, which means that right now it would probably be closer to roughly $14 or $15 an hour, depending upon where you are. And there you can see a transition between slides. Federal minimum wage through the years, and it's been really low in relation to inflation. And the data on the state certainly comes in handy. That was passed by a mandate of the voters a few years ago, and how it has been increasing incrementally. More on the minimum wage and why it should be raised. 900,000 Americans would be lifted out of poverty by 2025. Of course, that would be theoretical, because if individuals are having their minimum wage raised, does that also have a ripple effect where if there are 5 employees at an establishment making minimum wage and all of a sudden it is increased, do those 5 jobs become 4 if there was only so much of a pool of money that employers have to give out in wages? So there can be ripple effects that are unintended. Speaking in complete sentence structure, and there is her title slide with the presentation itself. So we'll leave it on Zamori for the time being. Take off the closed captioning while I reinforce the fact that our presentations included how to start playing Dungeons and Dragons from Scott, the meaning behind Juneteenth from Braceland, why you should always have a planner from Mariah, the audio presentation on Michelle Obama from Cornisha, and Ariana's wildcard speech on Shirley Chisholm that was recorded without audio, and I'll put that back up on the screen in a moment, and raising the minimum wage, Zamari's leftover persuasive presentation. This is for the benefit of Ariana. I showed this at the beginning of class before we got into our official wildcard speeches for day 1. I will return it to the screen because I want to make certain that everyone knows that one of the reasons why I try to record materials later in the evening for wildcards is to give you an opportunity, depending upon where you are, to resend material if necessary. We're picking up her presentation in progress. I will pause. As I had indicated a moment ago, hers is set up in such a way that there's no closed captioning unless I go in here and change it, and I don't believe I have the authorization to do so. So she sent this to me, and it looks a little bit different, and you can see whenever I'm accessing this in real time what it looks like. So I will put it up on the screen one more time and just let it play. And I haven't done anything. The presentation has started, and Ariana, there's no audio. So please re-record this, and before you send it, I need to make certain that you've checked it to ensure that the audio is up. And here's more of her presentation. Excellent research. And if you have ever watched video of Shirley Chisholm, she is an outstanding public speaker, or was. You see, she passed away in 2005, and she was a teacher. And you can tell she was a teacher because she is very confident and has outstanding diction. Those are the presentations that we have. Let me show you in real time my SAU email account, because I am recording this Wednesday evening. Zamari sent me during class, the official recording session right now, sent me her wild card. And that's what it looks like when you send me any information to my SAU address. And I'll show you, and I did this with someone before. I will go ahead right now and send this to my Yahoo address. Everything in here, you'll see names that are recognizable, such as Bracelin, Mariah, Zamari's Persuasive. We will now return to my Yahoo account to show you what it looks like right now with all of the data that's been sent. I have something in the inbox. This is the material from Zamari. This is her wild card with a link to Loom. And then I come back over here. As you know, I believe in transparency, and I open this up. And that is the link to her presentation, but we will save and play that tomorrow evening. This was Scott's self-evaluation, and that's what it looks like. You don't necessarily have to do that if you want to write a couple of paragraphs, as we saw from yesterday's course video with a lot of those presentations. That's certainly acceptable. You don't have to put it in a PDF or any type of Word document, but whatever you feel most comfortable with. But don't forget, and I'll reinforce that tomorrow evening, anything that you send me eventually is going to wind up here. And if I continue to scroll down, you will see materials from the last time I taught this course in this folder from the first summer session of 2021. Some of these people you've seen before. So this is Essence Thomas, and you saw the presentation from Essence, which was her wildcard presentation on creating TikTok videos. Professor Reppert, before beginning this course, I was beyond excited about being part of a class doing what I do best, which is speaking, and she earned an A, so that makes sense. Throughout this course, I feel I remained confident and smooth throughout my speaking. I could have improved on many unnecessary ums or so's, but I am beyond grateful for your teachings and advice. This class has truly prepared me for my occupation, which is counseling. She'll be an excellent counselor. Remember, guys, that wild card speech, and I'll show you my YouTube channel in a moment, her personality just jumps through the screen, and I will be able to communicate with others fluently. I also want to apologize for not answering your question because my computer had a little glitch, but I will be attending Southern Arkansas University in the fall. I look forward to working with you in the future. And that is one way in which you can put together a self-evaluation speech critique. So it is different than what we saw from Scott, both at the beginning and at the end of class, but equally effective, and each will be worth 10 points. Since I was mentioning Essence Thomas, and this is why the calendar goes by very quickly, let me show you my YouTube channel. And right there at the top is Essence. SAU wildcard speech, creating TikTok videos, and as I scroll over it, you can see her starting to talk in the bottom left-hand portion of the screen. And that's just one of a number of presentations that I have here, both from the Introduction to Public Speaking course and the Advanced Public Speaking course. But I had indicated that I was going to show you two more bits of interactivity before we wrap things up for Wildcard Speech Day 1. My Twitter feed will be first. Keep in mind that at Twitter, everything that I have discussed during the, including the recording screenshots from June 21st, are available for you to examine if you so choose. This saves me the option to return to Blackboard at the end of class, because all of this will be available for you to look at. The only difference is it will be session 18, wildcard speech, day 1. But any of the stuff that we've looked at during the term, whether it be the screenshots or examples of presentations, so much stuff, a familiar face, is available for you to examine. And I'll go all the way back to the first tweet that I sent out, which is right there for the course syllabus. Twitter and my website are excellent places for you to find material. And that's the last place that I'll be going in terms of interactivity, is my website. I already have it at the public speaking location. From page 3 of the syllabus, and also from the instructor information area that is available at Blackboard, you have links to my website. Here is the public speaking area. Within this window, the syllabus, the checklist, course examples of YouTube channels from spring 2020 at the height of the pandemic, the course itinerary, the course speech schedule, and within this window, demonstrative, informative, persuasive, wildcard outlines, audios, and videos, and eventually representative samples of what you have done are going to be included here, whether it be a wildcard speech video or a wildcard speech audio or a wildcard speech outline, which starts right here at asexuality and comes all the way down to a wildcard speech video that we saw yesterday from Madison on sports. All of my course videos are here, including yesterday. The reason that you see this icon is that it is in red, as it is still formatting, but eventually it will look like everything else on the screen. We were just looking a moment ago at my SAU email account, followed by my Yahoo account, with the file for this course. Everything that you have sent is available to be examined in that location. I told you at the outset that you can tell I'm recording in the evening intentionally to give all of you as much time as possible to prepare for 1, the wildcard speech, 2, making certain that the audio and the video works, which is why I showed Ariana's at the beginning and the end of the proceedings this evening, but also with the self-evaluation speech critique. I don't want anyone's grade to be dependent upon not turning something in. The class participation pretty much takes care of itself with an automatic 10 points. But I want to make certain that all of you remember that grades for the first summer session will be due on Monday at 10 a.m. I'll probably post them on Sunday evening. So even though you may not necessarily have access to Blackboard over the weekend, at least you can check out from my website, if you've bookmarked it, any comments that I've made with the course videos from either session 18 tonight, wildcard speech day 1, or session 19 tomorrow, Thursday, June 23rd, which will be wildcard speech day 2. Looking at everything in totality, all of the videos that we've watched, there is obvious improvement from you all. There's still, even though we're technically almost at the end of the term, much work to be done. But it's a lifelong process. Continue to work on your content, delivery, and visuals, making certain that what works for you is something that may be different than what works for someone else, and that's certainly acceptable. So please make certain that you get, if you still need to send me material either for wildcard speech day 1 or day 2, you have until roughly 8 p.m. Thursday to make certain that you get leftover materials to me. There may be individuals, and I'll probably do this tomorrow evening. What I'm looking at right now is my Campus Connect list. To the best of my knowledge, just about everyone has turned in assignments. Mariah, Bracelin, Scott, you all have all of your presentations completed. I still have an informative speech from Cornisha that needs to be turned in. Ariana, I showed you during a previous class session that one of your presentations was sent to me in an outline form, but I still do not have the official delivery. I'll be going through all of this tomorrow evening. No one has to be here in terms of an official class session, people being here. That's never been a requirement of the course. But please make certain that everything is turned in. I want to make sure that as we conclude that there isn't any confusion about projects. Check Blackboard, check my social media, and most importantly, always go back and watch the videos. I try to be as comprehensive as possible in giving you as much information in real time, showing you my emails, showing you that audio didn't work, showing you someone else's email where I've got the outline but I don't have the video. When you're teaching an online course, it is imperative that any instructor try to be as open as possible in giving students information necessary to succeed, realizing that some may have job issues or connectivity issues, but still, at the end of any term with an online course, it is a student's responsibility that everything is turned in a timely fashion. So go back, double check all of your files. We're doing quite well. I will be back tomorrow evening, probably sometime in the area of 9 p.m. to record. Nobody has to be here, but always make certain that you've got your data that's been sent to me. I know I probably repeat this probably far more often than I should, but when we get to session 18 of 19 and all of a sudden Blackboard cuts you off, then the communication link is cut, and I want to make certain that all of you maximize your overall efficiency as writers, researchers, and performers because your long-term communication skills are really vital whenever we're considering any type of career that you might want to enter. We will continue with our final course session of the summer session coming up in, I have to make certain that I'm on the right screen here. There we go. I have a lot of tabs open, and I try to be very careful that I don't accidentally X out of the course. So I will go through take 2. We will continue with our final class session, number 19 of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, Thursday evening. And until then, good luck with your respective speech preparation processes. And that concludes the recording session for, as you can tell over my left shoulder, tonight. Good luck in wrapping up the course in style.